Hi everyone, I'm the first to arrive. So today I will be, so I'm Louise, I'm from the Paris office at MTArt, and I'm super excited to be joined very shortly by Andrea Tyrimos, our artists. So she'll be speaking from her studio and up joining us now. Uh, so thank you so much for joining us. Uh, Hi, Andrea.
Hi Louise.
So I'm super excited to be live with you today. Thank you for making the time to join us. So
Of course,
welcome.
I'm really happy to be here.
Me too. Um, so I'll be doing a quick introduction. I'm Louise, and I'm working for MTArt for the Paris and the French office. And today we're going live with Andrea Tyrimos, one of our superstar artists who has been gaining a great actuality these last few weeks, especially. So we're thrilled to have her with us, and she'll be taking us through the studio. So Andrea, hello.
Hi, hi.
So I will give a very short introduction on your work and recent updates, and then nobody will introduce better himself or herself than yourself. So I'll give you the mic. So very shortly, you won recently the ING Discerning Eye First Prize. So that's super exciting news. Congratulations. Can you tell us
Thank you.
a bit more about the work that gained this prize, and uh, what was the reflection behind?
Yeah, of course. So I was selected by the London Art Critic to take part. And it was that in itself was an honour. I was just so pleased to just be a part of the exhibition itself. And the piece that won was it's entitled Sui, and it's an oil painting on steel. And it's actually a colleague of mine from the Royal Academy of Arts, and it shows her kind of looking almost like on reflection, not at the viewer but just past the viewer. And it was one of my first portrait pieces on steel. So previously, with, I don't know if you can see that behind me, with my
Yes.
um, Bipolar Picasso pieces, they're kind of really large scale 127 by 127 centimeter pieces, and you've got this really stark white background, and I purposely do the hair and the clothing very minimal, and that was so that you're not interrupted or distracted by what else is going on. I want you to really connect with the viewer. But these were the first pieces that I tried on still, and one of the reasons because of that, I do a lot of kind of public art as well on outdoor telephone boxes, or those little utility boxes in the park. They're quite ugly,
Yes.
and that's on metal. So I paint with oil on these kind of metal surfaces, and I was thinking, I wonder how that would transpire to my portrait work. Just to give you a bit of background on the portrait work I do, so it's inspired by try get people to have a better understanding of our mental health. So the pieces all feature people that have gone through some kind of mental health challenge or issue. And that's in a small attempt to kind of break down the stigma that still very much exists. It started off as a very personal project to me because several people very close to me struggle with their mental health, and they don't feel able to be open about it, and that's for fear of being judged by society. So when I started this project, it was actually way before it became a kind of hot topic, which it is now. People didn't really speak about it. And it really frustrated me the way that people would always, the media in particular, would pay a lot of attention to it when it concerned a celebrity, but not when it was a general member of the public. So for this body of work, I tried to get some celebrities involved simply so that I could then make people understand, well, if we accept that we all love Stephen Fry and he's this amazing eccentric, then we can also maybe be more empathetic to our neighbour who has bipolar disorder, or our sister who suffers with depression, or whoever it might be. So that was the thinking behind that. And they also contain audio works as well, so they're installations. So as I was meeting with people, I realised that their story was so important that I had to capture this in some way. So I started to record the conversations that we were having and edited them down so that as you're looking at the painting, you can also listen to them speaking very openly about their experience, almost like it was a monologue. So it's quite an intimate, obviously pre-COVID, it was quite an intimate experience. You could have your headphones on, be looking directly at the piece and feel like it's just you and them and you're able to connect. But to go back to what you asked me before, so the reason that they were on steel, I was experimenting with different media and I felt like the steel really represented what I was trying to communicate, which is I can show you here, which is that,
Oh yeah, awesome.
Thank you. Although very strong and durable, it's also tarnished and it's rusted and it's marked and it's scratched. And for me, that almost represents our mental health because our experiences and what we go through, we have mental bruises and scars, but we're still, as people, we're so resilient, we're so strong. And in particular, people who go through that are so very strong. So for me, I felt like that was the perfect material to experiment with. And thankfully, it got really good feedback and surprisingly, yeah, it won first prize.
Congratulations. And was it the first so because when we discussed it was you that's really a new part of the work that you wanted also to highlight. Do you do you have also bigger formats on that type of material medium?
So I have just recently got the steel pieces, but I've not yet actually painted on them. So for now, it's just the two small pieces. So the one that's won the prize that now is going to be part of ING art collection. And I've got this other one here, which is the only other piece.
Wow, can you move it slightly so we can see it because with the reflect of the medium, wow, that's gorgeous. Yeah. Oh. Thank you, Andrea.
But I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to working on some of the larger pieces, and it'll be interesting to see. It's funny because these pieces are offcuts, so they naturally had kind of rust marks and all of these. There's even an area, I don't know if you can see here, where it has numbers on it.
Yes.
So that's obviously where it was marked, where they were cutting the steel, which I love. But the larger pieces they're too perfect. So I need to rust them up. I need to maybe leave them in the rain or mark them. They need a bit more personality. But yeah, I've got two big pieces that I'm going to be trying out next. So that'll be really, really cool.
That's super exciting, and we look forward discovering those new artworks. Also on the French side, you have a big update as well. We were super proud to see you alongside one of our other artists, Tiffany Buell, on the cover of Madame Figaro for the 14th birthday. The 40th birthday, sorry, my pronunciation. So the 40th birthday on the cover with Together. So you have a big update on that as well. So David Hervé Boutin selected you alongside 26 other artists to be part of the cover. You had to do a portrait, and can you tell us a bit more about who you chose to portrait and what's the story behind?
Yeah, of course. Oh, hold on. There we go. Can you still see me?
Yes.
Yeah. So we were kind of given this really interesting brief, which was to paint a woman in the public eye who we admire. And obviously, to give the reasons behind that. And for me, I painted the amazing Adwoa Aboah. and she's a British supermodel, absolutely gorgeous, but she's also a mental health advocate. So obviously she's got such a high, amazing profile. She's very open about the fact that she has been diagnosed with bipolar, which again is something close to my heart because I know people who have the same mental health diagnosis. And she speaks about it so openly, and she's founded like a podcast, almost like a community called Girls Talk. And through that, she gives young women in particular a platform to talk and to share about their experience. So when I was given this amazing brief by David, and obviously had the opportunity through you guys at MTArt, which I was so unbelievably honoured to be able to be involved with, I immediately thought of her. And she's got this really amazing, strong look. And I thought that's also quite interesting because she's also got this beautiful vulnerability. And I think in order to be vulnerable, you have to be brave. So I wanted to paint her and try and portray that. So I painted it very much in the same style as my Bipolar Picasso pieces. So it's just her face in colour and detail, her amazing freckles, and then her hair and her neck and her clothing are all very bare and minimal. And again, that's in an attempt, I don't want to distract the viewer. I don't want you to be looking at what are they wearing or what's in the background. For me, it's all about that connection and that direct gaze, which I give in this piece. So yeah, and I just think for me, she's somebody who I really admire, and I wanted to kind of show that if more people who have a similar platform are open, it's just going to help all of us be able to be open and to empathize with people close to us who might be struggling or suffering. But more importantly, if you're going through something, it's going to encourage you to seek help because you're not going to feel as alone, you know? So yeah, that was why I decided to paint her. And again, it's oil paint on canvas. And I did see somebody here asked what paint I used. So yeah, it's all oil paints. So even though I like to kind of paint very contemporary issues and kind of reflect upon things that we're dealing with right now, I still like to paint in a really traditional way. So I just use traditional oil paints with brushes, nothing else. Often people ask me, is it spray paint? But it's not. Yeah, just oils and brushes.
That's interesting, yeah. And while I'm listening to you, I also hear a strong call to action. I feel that through your heart, you're trying to give to empower people to have a strong, to enable them to face who they are. So through portraits, it's. Is it something that you always have in mind when you're working, when you're painting, to have this call to action?
Yes, it really is. I mean, it started, so I think it was 4 years ago now that I did the actual Bipolar Picasso body of work. And I thought it was just going to be a one-off project. I thought it was just a passion project that I needed to get off of my chest. I was turning 30. My birthday coincides with Mental Health Awareness Day. Yet another person close to me had just been diagnosed with a mental illness, had just been through having to be, you know, seen in hospital and all sorts. And I just thought to myself, I have to do something. I'll just have to dedicate. So I dedicated half of the year to doing this project. At the time, like I said, it wasn't a hot topic, so no galleries were interested. I ended up having to save the money to do it myself. And I thought it would just be a one-off thing. But the reaction that I got, whether it was publicity or the individual feedback that I got from people, was so amazing, Louise, that I thought I have to continue this. And thankfully, with the support of MTArt, who are so amazing at recognizing what an artist stands for, as well as the pieces of art, I've been able to now pursue this and continue to really try to, like you said, try to almost have a voice for my art. So yes, I'm always really mindful of what I'm trying to say with these pieces. It's helped me with my mental health in the past. I've just actually seen that my old art teacher has just joined, and we kind of reminisce on the fact that during my lunch times at school, I would often be in the art class just painting away. And at the time, I didn't realize it, but looking back, it was because it helped my mental health. If I was going, and she's just on a thumbs up. Hi, Amanda. But if I was struggling or going through certain things, it was my way of coping. And it's really interesting because I've never thought of it like that. I've always thought of it as everybody else that I'm painting. And I was recently asked to reflect on my own mental health. And that was when I looked back and I thought, actually, painting has been almost my therapist, my medication. It's my way of dealing with things that I have found difficult. And they speak about getting in the flow, whether it's with music or dance or with painting. And I feel like it's one of the times in my life that I really feel like I'm in the flow of things. So yes, I'm always very mindful. I want people to connect to the pieces. I want them to not only look at the piece and think this is really aesthetically pleasing and beautiful, but also there's something deeper behind it. This is somebody who wants to do more with their art, and there's more to just the painting on the canvas.
That's really empowering. Thank you for the honest answer, and I feel that it will also help people who are watching the video as well to see that it's okay, and to cut the taboo around mental health. I have a question for you, because most of the works have a legend, and they don't have the name of the. It's a portrait. Yet you choose not to give the name of the person, but to give it a message. Is it because you want to preserve your subject? What's your connection to this?
A little bit of that, I suppose. I want you to look at it and not just see, in particular, the well-known faces. But the actual phrases that I used were extracts from the audio works. So with the audio recordings, I end up getting them edited, and so that they sound like a monologue. So it's just a person speaking really openly about their experience. So all of the titles are little extracts from that. And I think it's nice because it kind of sums up that person in that sitting and how it felt. So for example, this one here behind me, his title is On Darker Nights or Lighter Nights. So Bill suffers with bipolar disorder, and that kind of sums up bipolar disorder perfectly. On darker nights or lighter nights, you have your dark times, you have your light times. Another one that I've done of Kerry Katona, the title is I Make Sure the Sun's Coming In. So that's her way of dealing with and managing her mental health, that she always has her curtains open so she can wake up with the sunshine. So each of them, I feel like they're quite poignant, and without realizing it, the sitters, as they spoke to me, it was almost quite poetic. And for them, thankfully afterwards, they said it was quite a cathartic experience. But for me, hearing them speak so openly, it just meant the world to me. Leon Mackenzie, who's an ex-footballer and ex-boxer, his piece is called I'm Still Fighting, because he was used to fighting in the ring, but he said he's also fought his whole life with his mental health. So for me, the titles it's quite nice to kind of pull that out of the audio, to kind of, rather than just the name of the person.
This is powerful. And in terms of, so can you show us a bit around in the studio?
Yeah, cool.
I think that especially on those times, we're talking a lot today around mental health, and especially with lockdown and people feeling sometimes disconnected or that are lonely. I feel that your message resonates even more strongly and can even more help people throughout those challenging times.
Oh, thank you, Louise. That's really kind. So these are some of the large Bipolar Picasso pieces. So I wanted them to be large on purpose because I really wanted you to feel quite overwhelmed. I wanted you to kind of, you're facing them and you feel that you almost feel confronted with them, like they're overwhelming you with their presence, because I wanted them to feel like they're heard and listened to, which is sometimes people don't feel listened to when they're going through such struggles. So this is actually a wonderful friend of mine, Penita, and her piece is called My Heart Beating. And her piece is really interesting. It's about anxiety, and it's something that I think we can all relate to. So even people that don't understand mental illness per se, a lot of people can understand that kind of basic level of anxiety. And she actually, in her audio, she speaks about the first time that she felt the physical manifestations of anxiety. And she said, and I couldn't sleep, and all I could feel was my heart beating out of my chest. And I remember speaking to you about it, to me, and I said to her, that's anxiety. And she was like, no, no, it can't be. It can't, because she didn't realize that it can have a physical outcome, how we feel in our mind. And hers is a really important piece to me, because she also speaks about social media and the detrimental effect that that can have. But although it's fantastic and we're able to connect, you know, you're in Paris, I'm in London, and it's absolutely wonderful for that kind of connection, but it also can be quite damaging. I know obviously Marine and MTArt, they have that amazing visual diet platform. Things like that are so important, because we are who we surround ourselves with, and the images we look at and the feeds and what we read and what we watch. And I think we need to be really mindful of that. If you're looking at something continuously that's making you feel negative, you have the power to stop that, you know, and that comparison thing that we all do, you are able to try to limit your exposure to that, you know. And so like I said, her piece is really important for that. Let's see what else. I've got these pieces here. So these are actually pieces that I created during lockdown. And so this is my cousin, who's a doctor, who was working on the front line. So because obviously of everybody, what they were experiencing in lockdown, I wanted to create a new series of work which really explored how people are maintaining positive health during this time. So rather kind of give an account of their experiences, it was more, what do you do? Do you walk in nature? Do you meditate? Do you listen to music? I wanted to really try to encourage and inspire people that there's so many things we can do. Because interestingly, for the first time, I feel, with what's happened with this pandemic, I feel like everybody finally understands mental health now to a degree, because we've all kind of almost got this shared worry that maybe a lot of people hadn't had before. So yeah, it's just really about being able to kind of connect with each other and inspire each other, I think. And that I've got some, I'll show you my they're all here. I've got all of my oil paints and brushes.
I always
and
like
you can
to
see
like the behind the scene. It's super exciting.
I've got a lot of the steel. So these are great, because these are all kind of great offcuts that I managed to get my hands on. So some of them are quite marked, but some of them not so much. So it's going to be really fun, kind of trying to decide what to use and how to use it and stuff. But yeah, that's I've got wonderful lighting in here. I'm very lucky.
Yeah, we can see that. And it's quite amazing. Thank you for taking us through a little tour and showing us also the material, because I feel that you know, for especially for everyone, it's super inspiring for collectors to be able to see. I take collectors quite often to our studio here in Paris, and showing them like the painting or the material. We had a live with Leo Caillard and with Tiffany, and showing like the different types of brushes or the different types of paints that are used is also makes you feel like an insider. And also at MTArt, we want how to be more accessible. So it's part of this to also show, especially, and I'm enjoying this moment too. If you have any questions, you're more than welcome to ask them. That's also one of the reasons why we're live, is because we also like to take questions or interactions with our artists. So don't hesitate to raise your hand. We're looking at the questions if you have some. But to talk about mental health, I feel that that's true, that for the first time with the pandemic, we read more on mental health. And do you see like how do you pick your subject? Because you mentioned a few relatives, like one of your friends or one of your cousin. How do you pick the subjects you choose to portray?
So initially, because of the frustration with the fact that it was only celebrities who I felt were kind of had a light shine on them. So initially it was just a matter of me trying to contact some people who could take part in that way. And then I thought for the members of the public, I thought I'll have to kind of search for them. That's going to be more tricky because people are going to find it difficult, you know, to be able to expose themselves like that. It's quite a difficult thing to do, and you know, it's quite a vulnerable thing to do. But funnily enough, I found it so easy for the members of the public because it's a friend of a friend, it's a cousin, it's so easy because we all know somebody, or you know, we've got people in our circle who have experience with that. And I think it's kind of just recognizing that. And I wanted there to be, for me, it was important to have a real variety of people. So like I said, so from my friend Panita, who has experience with anxiety, all the way up to a friend of mine I know from when I work with my dad, who suffers from schizophrenia and unfortunately is full-time in a mental health home because of that. So I wanted to show kind of the wide range. So although the project is called Bipolar Picasso, I look at all different, the whole spectrum of what we go through. And that's what's interesting with these newer pieces. So Emmy Lou is another artist friend of mine. Sophie, the doctor, who's my cousin. I have a neighbour of mine who is a supermarket worker. So these are all people who I know who can then give us insight on how they've managed their mental health. And I've just been so very grateful for how open people have been and vulnerable. But like I said before, in order to be vulnerable, you have to be brave. I don't know. Do you know Brené Brown? Do you know the speaker Brené Brown?
Yes. Yes.
So it's amazing. Sorry, go on.
No, go ahead.
Oh, no, just saying, I watched her talk on Netflix and it really resonated with me because she was speaking about that people think you have to be strong and you have to be brave and you mustn't be vulnerable. But in order to be brave, you have to be vulnerable. The two don't go together. I mean, that you have to have both of them together because the whole idea of being brave and courageous is because there's a risk there, you know? Yeah. So I just found that so important, and I don't know, ever since I watched that and ever since I've thought about that differently, life is about that. Life is about taking risks and being brave, and it's okay to show your vulnerability. And where back in the day, and unfortunately still now to a degree, people might look at someone with a mental health illness and think that they might not be as strong as other people. Well, actually, they're the most beautiful and strong people that I know. And I myself have experienced different mental health problems. And I think the more we talk about it, the more that you can see that it's actually completely normal, and we need to really normalize it. And that's why it wasn't hard for me at all to find people, because I think we can all find people.
And I feel that you're also that's true, and that you're building a beautiful relationship with the subject that you're portraying. So even when you talk about them when they're not there, we can see that you know, it resonates, that there is a strong safe space. And for vulnerability and strength, it resonates strongly with me. We're organizing an event on vulnerability here in France, and it's to empower women. So it's on vulnerability, but it's to empower women with women in innovation. So I'm totally aligned with. It can seem a bit contrast, a bit paradoxal to think strength and vulnerability, but actually it comes on the same roots. And your portrait invite us also to think that way.
I think so. I hope so.
I see a question from Beatrice. She said, "Did your creative process change during lockdown and throughout this year? And if so, in which ways?"
So yes, definitely. So normally it's really important for me to be able to meet my sitters, to be able to meet them face to face, because like you said, that connection and me knowing them and hearing their story is so important. So obviously that was taken away because we weren't able to meet as we normally would. So in that way it completely changed. I had to utilize Zoom and Meets and all these Teams, and all these different kind of technological methods. And my husband will be the first one to tell you that I am rubbish with technology. So it was a whole new area I had to explore. Even now, as you know, I was saying to you, do I have to invite myself in, or do you invite me? I'm not good with it, but I'm getting better. I'm working on it. So yeah, just logistically, it was difficult. But then I also saw it as this almost amazing opportunity, because I was so saddened, but also happy that so many people were now becoming more aware of how important our mental health is. So it really did inspire me to continue with my work, and particularly to create this new body of work, which is inspired by, how you can manage and maintain positive mental health during lockdown, because I think as humans we all seek that connection, and also routine is really important to people, so all of these things are being thrown out of the window. So yes, for me, I was even more inspired to continue the work, and yeah, and the silver lining was that I was able to still get to the studio where other people weren't able to maybe go to their offices and things like that. And I was still able to do my research and things from home, from my phone or laptop. So yeah, I'm constantly inspired generally anyway. I'm one of those people that it's hard to go anywhere without me kind of constantly taking photos or writing notes. But yeah, lockdown for me was a source of creative inspiration.
Well, that's super inspiring, especially that the lockdown is still here. And I feel that for people watching this live, it's also empowering in this sense. Like even in challenging times, you can still feel some positivity around the subject and still produce work. I can see some comments that say just keep working no matter what. So I really like that. Another question that just came, and I believe that you answered maybe at the beginning, but is will you continue working on still? Because you showed a few. So
Yeah. So yeah, interestingly, so just for those people who've joined who might not have seen, so there's a couple of examples of my pieces on steel. So this is the one that's now part of ING's art collection. And this is my other one here. But yes, I will be. So they were an experiment. I wanted to see how they would be, how they would work. But I do feel like they've got quite a lot of depth to them, in comparison to some of my other works. So yes, I will be creating a new series using the steel, and again the oil paints on the steel. So I will be doing that. So that's kind of quite a nice, exciting thing for me. And as artists, we always feel quite alone. So in a weird way, lockdown hasn't actually been that different for many artists I know, because we're always on our own working anyway. But one thing that we miss is that feedback that you get. Kind of, you're at university. I studied fine art at Central St Martin's. I'm very grateful to be able to do so. And you have these kind of continuous, they're called crits, where you kind of have to show your peers your work, and then they give you feedback and guidance on what they think works, what doesn't. And then suddenly you're thrown into the art world, and you just have to do it all by yourself, and you don't have as much feedback as you think. So you really welcome that. So for me to win the prize with a piece, which my first ever piece on steel, was really wonderfully reassuring for me to kind of, yes, it's something I already wanted to continue. So yeah, I will definitely be doing so. And what's lovely is they'll all be so different, because as well as the paintings, all the surfaces will be so different as well.
the texture and congratulations again for winning this prize. This is just awesome. Maybe one last question for you is, you were mentioning, because we didn't go through your curriculum, but when did you, so you were mentioning your studies just right now, when did you decide, or did you decide to become an artist full-time? Like what was the turning point?
Again, looking back, interestingly, it actually was to do with my mental health, which I never realized it until years and years later. So at the time I was doing my A levels, I wasn't even going to do art as an A level. And again, Amanda, my wonderful teacher at the time, who was had just joined us, she said to me, please do it for A level, you've got to do it, and I said, no, miss, it takes up too much of my time. I need to do my history and my politics. I wanted to do history, politics, or business. That was kind of That was the other subjects that I took, and that's what I wanted to think about doing at university level. And she said to me, just go for it, just do it, and then we can see what happens. So I decided to have a think. I took it for A level. I thought I'll take a punt. If I need to drop it at AS. So for us, I don't know if it's different in France, but for us, it's now broken into AS level. And then, oh God, it's been so long. But then you have your second year, but you can drop a subject after the first
Yes.
year. So you kind of get, you get like a half an A level.
We have a different system, but
yeah, different but similar.
yeah.
So I remember thinking, I'll do it and I'll see what happens. If I have to drop it, I'll drop it. And then during that year, I think that's when I really began to reflect about what do I really want to do. And I knew it was a risky career. I knew that it's not going to have the kind of job stability or the financial reward that a lot of other careers will give me. But I loved it. I just absolutely loved it. It gave me a peace like nothing else. I could just lose myself in the act of painting itself. So as well as what I'm thinking about and why I'm doing it, I just felt like I was truly myself when painting. And I started to think about, what do I want for my future? You know, do I want to go everywhere to something that I don't necessarily enjoy just because it gives me that stability, or do I want to do something every day that I truly love? So I decided to do the latter, and with the support of my family and again amazing art teachers and my husband, I decided to take it further. And it's very difficult. I'm not gonna, especially at the beginning when you're finding your feet, and especially deciding on which career path to take and what you want to focus on. But that was one of the other reasons that I wanted to really pursue and keep pushing this mental health, because it's so important to me. And I thought, you know what, I've already chosen a difficult career. So I don't just want something pretty that someone's going to put above their sofa. I want something that's going to mean more, that's going to do something, even in like the smallest possible way. So I might as well go the whole hog. If I'm gonna already put myself under that risk, why not do it? So yeah, so that was the turning point. And where other subjects and other studies, I would feel that stress, that pressure that you put on yourself. I didn't feel it with art. With art, I could do the whole night. And although I'd be tired and need a break and that kind of thing, it was a different kind of pressure. It was a pressure that I thrived upon, and I feel that with my art. I can keep going with it because it's like one of my loves. It's just, yeah, I can keep going with it. So
well, thank you so much, Andrea. I feel that this discussion is really empowering. First, by the core of your work and your heart around mental health, and especially in those times, and also by your own personal path throughout this journey of becoming an artist. I feel that and being now an artist that is winning great prizes, that is on the cover of great magazines, and you have so many updates, and also you have joined a few great collections as well, and you're on the press. So to have the chance to reflect on the past and to show also where you are now is very inspiring for many. So thank you for taking this time with us today, and for taking us through your studio as well. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so, so much. I'm so grateful to be able to talk with you today, Louise. Thank you. And thank you for your kind words and your support.
Thank you, Andrea. And if you have any questions around Andrea's work or have inquiries, please don't hesitate to join me on Instagram, and you'll be able to watch this live again. So if you didn't have the time, or if you just joined in the middle, don't be frustrated. You'll be able to see it again. So thank you so much for all of the people who joined today, and for Andrea for your time. And again, congratulations on the great updates. So I look forward to the next artworks and projects together. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Louise. Thanks.
Have a wonderful day. Thank you. Bye.
You too. Bye.
Bye.